Wednesday's morning, right here on Delta Television, the People's Pride. It's time for us to look at the papers this morning. We have looked at them. What are the headlines to you so that you can indeed have your own reason to get a copy and read for yourself the entire story. So, ladies first.
Yes, we have the Nation's newspaper, Daily Sun, the Nigerian Tribune, Daily Times, Daily Independent, Daily Trust, the Vanguard, New Telegraph, the Punch, and last but not the least, the Guardian newspaper. Yes, so we will begin with the Nation newspaper this morning. Right, these are the headlines from the Nation newspapers. Federal government plans scrap of JSS and SSS program. NDC uploads OB, Dixon and others' names on INBC portal, on INEC portal rather. I'll take that again. NDC uploads OB, Dixon and others' names on INEC portal. UK asylum seekers to pay £10,000 before consideration. Lagos gets NRC license to run train services. Still on the Nation newspaper, Tunji Bello, one of his generation's most accomplished public servants, says Tinubu. Investors net 47 trillion naira capital gains in first half of 2026. And Akpabio, Barau, Abdul Razak, Uzodinma, Yero on APC list. The rider says Abbas, Kalo, Faleke gets nomination forms and governors to meet Yelwatda. And lastly, new army recruits accused of assaulting female students during hostels invasion. I think that's it from the Nation's newspaper.
Okay, let's look at the next paper. That's the Daily Sun newspaper this morning. The big headline on the front page of the Daily Sun newspaper says 2027 APC seals fate of senators, other aspirants who lost primaries. The writers here says releases list of candidates submitted to INEC, Soswam, Ilebe Legi, 5 others editorial, 19 reps candidate dropped, window for candidates substitution closes. That's the big headline on the front page of the Daily Sun newspaper. But the photo speak is loud, even though the caption isn't as loud as the picture is. Lagos flood wreaks havoc. Commuters stranded, disrupts business. That's on page 26. And I've been seeing videos and pictures, memes of the flood in Lagos. I really wish that something can happen as soon as possible. On the top strip of the Daily Sun newspaper, we have 2027 INEC uploads OB's name to portal as NDC candidate. The writer says restores party's access despite legal dispute. Underneath the masthead, Dangote Refinery, UAE crude imports expose Nigeria's supply crisis. Now underneath that photo speak, which really is very bewildering, OB urges INEC to publish certificate of candidate. What here says measure will boost public trust. On page 27, FG moves to fast track operation of UBEC Smart Bilingual Schools, inaugurates committee. On 27, Pope Leo appoints Archbishop Martins to Vatican Dicastery. The rider, priest makes history as I can't see that well, as first Nigerian member.
Yeah.
That's quite a big one. Priest makes history as first Nigerian member. That's on page 27 of Daily Sun newspaper. I'd like to read that story entirely myself. Finally, on the front page of the Daily Sun newspaper says FG scraps JSS SSS structure, introduces 12-year continuous basic education. That's on page 6 of the Daily Sun newspaper this morning, and I really want to see how that one will go eventually.
Yeah. All right, moving on to the Nigerian Tribune newspaper. It says Federal High Court issues new 2026 pre-election practice direction, repeals 2022 rules. Airfare in Nigeria rose by 20.86% in May. This is a report. The federal government to scrap GSS and SSS separation policy. Candidate list. APC governors to meet Yewatda. Political parties begin upload to INEC portal. PDP, NDC, LP confirms receipt of access codes. Wike-led PDP receives code as confusion hits Turaki camp. We have uploaded Obi's name, says NDC. And lastly, looking at the Nigerian Tribune, it says Lagos residents express frustration over recurring flood, laments destruction, fresh panic as downpour enters second day. Governor sue for calm. Sanwo-Olu approves immediate dredging and maintenance of 28 additional primary channels. Well, that's it from the Nigerian Tribune.
Next, the Daily Times newspaper. Big headline. It's coming from the Finance Minister. Stop demonizing borrowing, Finance Minister tells critics. The rider says it's strategic tool, not moral failing. The second rider proposes establishment of Commercial Dispute Resolution Tribunal. At the top strip, FG cancels GSS SSS separation policy, and a business DMO unveils 43 trillion naira on Q3 bond issuance plan to fund budget deficit. It says DMO unveils 4 trillion naira Q3 bond issuance plan to fund budget deficit. Other stories making the front page of the Daily Times newspaper. 269 more Nigerians arrive from South Africa and xenophobic deadline expires. I saw indeed videos. I think that was from Durban, and it was described as the most peaceful of the protests. However, it looks really terrifying if you are a foreigner and a black man in South Africa. Other writers here. We have other stories here, and one more actually. Alleged 400 million naira bribery. Hold your appointees accountable, article tells Tinubu. Those are the stories making the front page of the Daily Times newspaper this morning.
All right, on the Daily Independent newspaper, it says INEC restores NDC nomination, portal access, says Dixon. Federal government considers scrapping policy separating JSS and SSS. Civil war root causes still active in Nigeria. This is coming from Obasanjo. Other riders or other headlines on the Daily Independent newspaper says Minister proposes Commercial Dispute Tribunal to boost investment. Peter Obi demands INEC publish academic credentials of candidates. 400 million naira bribery allegation. Atiku demands probe of Gbajabiamila. And lastly, federal government engages South Africa on safety of Nigerians awaiting evacuation. The rider says to seek compensation for abandoned Nigerian businesses.
Okay, Daily Independent newspaper. Civil war root causes still active in Nigeria, coming from Obasanjo. It says civil war root causes still active in Nigeria. That's from one-time President Olusegun Obasanjo. At the top strip, INEC restores NDC nomination portal access, says Dixon. And then this one that's been on the front pages of all the papers we've read so far. FG considers scrapping policy separation, GSS, SSS. Other stories making the front page of the Daily Independent newspaper this morning. Minister proposes Commercial Dispute Tribunal to boost investment. That's on page 29. On page 7, Peter Obi demands INEC publish academic credentials of candidates. On page 7 as well. 400 million naira bribery allegation. Atiku demands probe of Gbajabiamila. Army probes assault of Unijust students by soldiers That's on page 7. And underneath the photo speak, and the photo speak really has an image of actual families. Some Nigerians evacuated from South Africa as a result of xenophobic attacks arrived at Murtala Mohammed International Airport, Ikeja, Lagos. That was just yesterday. These are actual young people. Look at the picture there. It's quite touching, really. The story underneath that one says, FG engages South Africa on safety of Nigerians awaiting evacuation. The rider, like we read in the previous paper, to seek compensation for abandoned Nigerian businesses. At the bottom strip, find our story on the front page of the Daily Independent newspaper. U.S. Supreme Court upholds birthright citizenship to blow. I'll take that again. U.S. Supreme Court upholds birthright citizenship in blow to Trump. That's on page 6, and that's the final story on the front page of the Daily Independent newspaper this morning.
The Daily Trust newspaper is next, and these are the headlines. The Daily Trust. Niger Varsity students block VC, protests robbery attacks. Niger Varsity students block VC, protest robbery attacks. Federal government to demand compensation for abandoned Nigerian businesses in South Africa. Access codes, not yet Uhuru for ADC, PDP and NDC. And questions over Phantom Council. How 23 Sokoto residents and Kebbi youth died in road crashes. And lastly, aggrieved aspirants caution APC over candidates replacement. Well, that's it on the Daily Trust newspaper.
All right, let's look at other papers here. We have the Vanguard newspaper. The Vanguard newspaper is next. And on the front page of the Vanguard newspaper is the flood picture there. The flood in Lagos, really worrisome. Lagos underwater, floods sack homes, paralyzed commuters, commerce. Quite instructive right there. At the top strip, Finance Minister defends FG's borrowing, 6 commercial dispute tribunal. That's on page 19. On page 14, discourse, an expose on Herbert Macaulay, the first Nigerian nationalist, Bode George. On number 5, page 5 rather, we have evacuated Nigerians, FG to seek compensation from South Africa for abandoned properties. 79,323 killed, 34,773 abducted in 6 years. This is a report that's on the Vanguard newspaper's page 9, so do grab a copy and read for yourself. Other stories, this is the big story here. Outrage over Army personnel's assault on Uniosun students. Outrage over Army personnel's assault on Uniosun students on page 30. Borno school attack, 37 children still missing. Coming from parents on page 7. On page 8, okay, I'll just let that story be of your take. U.S. Supreme Court blocks Trump's bid to end birthright citizenship. That's on page 8. Those are the stories making the front page of the Vanguard newspaper this morning.
The New Telegraph is next with these headlines. Value of Nigeria's natural gas shipment to Europe, Asia hits $8.6 billion, may surpass 22 million export baseline for 2026. Report, aviation loses $6.3 billion yearly to missing, mishandled baggage. Xenophobic attacks, federal government to demand compensation for fleeing Nigerians. And the writer here says Nigerian SA politician's husband arrested for allegedly hiding illegal migrants. Massive anti-immigration protest held in Rainbow Nation. Third batch of Nigerians evacuated from South Africa arrives in Lagos. Humanitarian Affairs Minister hails returnees' resilience. Minister defends federal government borrowings, lashes out at critics. And lastly, this one here says 2027, prioritize Nigeria's survival over political relevance Obi tells leaders. Well, that's it, coming from the New Telegraph newspaper.
All right, I love the New Telegraph newspaper as a photo speak. It has the governor of the state.
All right.
And he had that unscheduled inspection visit to the completed Ozoro Modern Isoko North local government. That was yesterday. Beautiful to see that. Beautiful to see that. We know that he had unscheduled inspection recently, and indeed made the news right here on the television of People's Pride. Now, the next paper is the Punch newspaper this morning. Xenophobia. Nigerian embassy packed 269 return as South Africa protests rise. Nigerian embassy packed 269 return as South Africa protests rise. That's on page 2. At the top strip, Borno abduction. Parents list 36 missing children as youth protest. Page 30. NDC upholds Obi Dixon as INEC restores portal access. Page 12. Barbara BOT seeks INEC recognition for Turaki PDP. Discuss earned 801 billion naira despite persistent blackouts. On page 22. Marketers reject fuel pricing curbs, threaten shutdown on page 21. And on page 12, I never rubber-stamped foreign loans as Senate President, coming from Saraki. Page 4 and 5, floodwaters submerge homes, disrupt power supply in Lagos. On page 7, 79,323 killed, 34,773 abducted in Nigeria in 6 years. That's a report on the Punch newspaper. Those are the stories that made the front page of the Punch newspaper this morning.
The last but not the least is the Guardian newspaper with these headlines. Coastal states wary as flood disrupt Lagos economy amid disease fears. NDC granted access to INEC portal for upload. Switzerland returns 23 cultural artifacts to Nigeria. Terrorist recruit. Raise funds online. Army warns. ASU chapters threaten strike over unimplemented pact. Atiku asks Tinubu to suspend, probe Gbajabiamila as group cautions. Violence. Tension in South Africa as the federal government evacuates 271, seeks compensation for Nigerians. INEC worries over votes buying ahead of Osun polls. INEC registers 1.57 million Nigerians in CVR exercise. And lastly, TED Fund charges Nigerian scientists to develop Lassa fever vaccine.
All right, thank you so much. Thank you so much, and thank you again so much. Those are the papers this morning. Do well to grab yourself a copy.
All right.
The most viral slogan lately has been the Olodo uprisings. I'll encourage you to go read this yourself so that you wouldn't start debating Olodo uprising for the fact that you feel like you're one of them.
Exactly.
You have to debate on that.
It means you're one of them.
You can't debate based on the fact that you're intelligent and you believe there's something positive from the uprising, or maybe it's been misconstrued. But please go read out.
So you don't end up defending it.
So you defend, if you have to defend intellectually, and don't defend like you are.
Can Olodo uprising be defended intellectually?
Yeah, I've seen intellectual defense.
Okay.
Those who have said that it's a institution of the country and people have to survive.
Okay.
It was a brilliant defense, basically, for those who come from homes where they were not privileged to go to school, and they find a way to make money legitimately. Let them make their money. So, people have also talked about how farming for audience on social media can be cumbersome to the so-called intellectuals, and how some people intentionally gimmick Olodo vibes just to get attention from people, and then they do get the attention so they can pass their messages. There have been defenses here and there for it, but we know that there's a CEO story of how she claimed breast cancer and she couldn't defend herself properly.
She couldn't.
And then the Pella stories and the kind of things he had been doing, and Carter Efe and the rest of them.
A lot.
Carter Efe had to go show a result.
A certificate.
First class upper result from Babcock University. I've never heard of first class upper before. Babcock had to come
It was
around
really
to
strange.
say that they've never issued out a first class upper.
Upper.
You know, and I think they should have taken that matter more legally
Seriously.
than just to disclaim the result. But that's another thing. So I just say grab a copy of the paper. So if you have to defend something, do it intellectually. So you don't end up defending just by proving that there is indeed an Olulo uprising.
Right.
That's all on the right this morning. Sorry, I'm just laughing now. It's been a privilege to be here, to be the anchor for this ride. Rebecca, welcome.
Yeah, it's been good, but in as much as we look at the government to do a lot for us, the more, we also have our roles to play. And please, during this period, be security conscious. I'll always say we've gone past the era of I'm an adult and I can do whatever I want to do. Yeah, you've got that freedom, but please, if you're within the state or if you're going somewhere or if you're traveling out of the state or out of the country, please do well to tell somebody that you trust. At least one person must know where you are should the unimaginable happen.
Yeah. To even avert.
Avert such. Right.
Yes, I'll take it from there too, because yesterday there was a rumor that the Buzo in the North Dakota government area had been attacked by bandits, and then they had people in Nassau rolling
Helter-skelter.
boats, everyone running, trying to get their children from school, because they said the school was children kidnapped. After all that craze and disarray, we discovered that it was just a rumor, and nothing like that actually happened. So when you hear things like this, it's okay to respond, but first try to verify and maintain calm first. A calm person is always quick to survive a zombie apocalypse. So if you are calm, you'll be able to survive things like that rather than just run. Verify, listen, and then act. That's all it is on the morning ride this Wednesday morning. My name is Francis Ofule. Good morning, and thank you to everyone who has put this success from the camera to the presentation directing department. Thank you so much. Good morning and goodbye for Morning Ride.